I'm letting go.
What's up, Isaac?
It's time.
For what?
Time to get it done.
Get what done?
My media arts video.
Alright, so Edgar Wright is an incredibly well-known British film director, most known for directing and co-writing the popular Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, which is a trilogy of incredibly hilarious films which parody different genres with a great amount of knowledge and intelligence to what makes them work. It's a trilogy in pretty much name alone, as the movies do not actually have much to do with each other aside from containing Edgar Wright's trademark style of filmmaking and reoccurring actors and references. Edgar Wright is most known for his particular style of filmmaking, which shows up all throughout his filmography. His use of visual humor, coupled with exaggerated sound design and quirky characters, show up throughout all of his movies in a way that easily ascends him to auteur status in a way that I'm going to explain in this video. Before I start, I'm going to give a quick explanation of the meaning of auteur. An auteur is a filmmaker who has pretty much complete creative control throughout their films and has such a specific style of filmmaking that is easily identifiable throughout their movies, and you can often tell what director has directed the movie just by looking at it or watching it, as you can pick out their different quirks. Easily the most recognizable convention in Wright's filmmaking is his visual style. He uses visual humor and great editing to create films that are packed to the brim with visual gags and over-the-top charm. Of course, when you bring up Edgar Wright's visual style, usually the first thing that comes to mind for most people are his signature montages, and that's not a bad thing. The montages encapsulate all that's best about his visual style and are very prevalent throughout his films. These montages are sprinkled throughout pretty much all of Wright's movies and use quick cuts, extreme close-ups, and fast-paced digital zooms to create tension and intensity. They're used often for the purpose of making mundanities seem action-packed and intense. These play into his love for reworking genre tropes in comedic ways, as he creates scenes that would feel at home in a regular action flick, but instead of, let's say, two mercenaries fighting, it's a 30-something-year-old guy getting ready for work. Another example of Wright intensifying the mundane is this montage from Hot Fuzz, which is so fast-paced and dramatic that the viewer likely won't even clue into the fact that it's just a montage of a guy doing paperwork. In his montages, Wright often employs a great comedic technique of setting up an epic montage and building intensity only to completely subvert the expectations of the viewer by cutting to something which completely drains the former momentum of the dramatic montage. As an example of this, here's a scene from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. In this montage, Scott is excitedly putting on armbands and pulling on his jacket, and the momentum of the montage is really going forward, and then everything comes to a halt as Scott clumsily ties his shoelaces, which completely halts the momentum of the montage for great comedic effect. Another example of this technique is from the clip I showed earlier from Shaun of the Dead. It builds up the montage, again gaining momentum with fast, close-up shots, only for the tension to be completely fizzled as Shaun stops to fiddle with his tie. The montages are not only used for comedy, however. This montage from Hot Fuzz effectively shows big city constable Nick Angel's transition from the big city of London into the tiny little town of Sandford, using visuals to show the transition from place to place and show Nicholas Angel's emotions without him actually saying anything. And this montage sets up the film's climactic battle, obviously as a riff on the cool, gunslinging action hero, but there are no actual jokes in this montage. It's just cool. One more thing to add on to this is, well, pretty much the entire style of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. In this film, Edgar Wright turns up his flashy editing dial to 100, and with a constant barrage of effects is used to completely stylize the film, doing different things such as introducing characters and using automatopoeias of sound effects, and it just makes the film so much better and fits in with his style in a unique way that is similar to his other films in certain ways, but also completely has its own identity. So all in all, Edgar Wright's visual style is used consistently throughout his movies to create unique but cohesive comedic moments, as well as to enhance the plot in interesting ways. And while all these films have their own unique identities, they all use similar techniques from Wright's arsenal. Another stylistic mainstay of Wright's films is the use of sound design in tandem with his visuals. Cartoonish sound effects are very commonly used in Wright's films for different reasons depending on the film. In Hot Fuzz, their use is in reference to the extreme effects of some more campy action films, and in Scott Pilgrim, lots of effects are borrowed from video games to pay homage to the influences of the comic book.
22.
The sound effects to these movies all add to their overall style, creating unique experiences that all feel like quintessentially Edgar Wright movies. And possibly the best example of his sound design is his tendency to sync actions and cuts to the beat of the well-curated music playing in the background. This is sometimes used in more overt ways, such as this often referenced scene from Shaun of the Dead, where the crew beat up a zombie to the beat of Queen's Don't Stop Me Now. This technique was taken to its logical extreme in Wright's most recent film, Baby Driver, in which almost the entire film is synced to the beat of the music playing in the background, and it's incredible. So the 1-minute movie I created at the start of this video was an attempt to utilize these techniques that Wright has used so well in his films, such as the exaggerated sound effects and the fast-paced montage, and use them to try and create a scene that would feel at home in one of Wright's movies. The sum of all the many incredible parts of Wright's films create wonderful viewing experiences that amuse the viewer and also invite multiple viewings, because there's always a little gag or quirk that you might have missed in your last viewing. All the consistent techniques and styles used throughout Wright's films for great effect undoubtedly bring Wright up to the status of an auteur, and also a consistently incredible filmmaker. I'd like to thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.